Stocks slide as the US threatens the EU with further tariffs. Guys, really interesting today. Another theme to think about, another theme been thrown back in the mix, EU-US trade tensions. So today we have the US, we have this Bloomberg report basically saying that the US is thinking about putting a further 3.1 billion in tariffs on EU imports. Now, all of this pretty much relates to this ongoing dispute that's going on between the US and the EU over both of the countries subsidizing their aircraft building industries. So the US has been subsidizing Boeing and the EU has been subsidizing Airbus, and they're both trying to basically dispute each other's illegal subsidies in the WTO. Basically back in October, you'll remember, the WTO handed the US a victory. It said you can put tariffs on 7.5 billion worth of EU imports because of the EU's subsidization of Boeing. So they did that. Now the US is hitting the EU with a further, or thinking about hitting them with a further 3.1 billion in tariffs. Why are they thinking about that? Well, next month, the WTO is expected to give a similar victory that it gave to the US back in October to the EU, because the US has been subsidizing Boeing. Basically, literally, it's like a mirror image of what these two are doing. And the US might be using the threat of tariffs today to disincentivize the EU from putting those tariffs on the US, which is expected to be sort of granted by the WTO. But the point is, you know, all this bickering, all this politics, all this drama, the main thing is trade tensions are on the rise between the US and the EU. And, you know, going into this election, Trump is sliding in the polls. Latest polls had him 14% behind Biden. But one thing which he does generally poll well on is trade. Trade with China, trade with the EU, bringing jobs home with tariffs, all this kind of stuff. So Trump is probably going to keep pushing this trade war thing pretty hard. Could affect the EU. We could see rising trade barriers with the EU, likely also going to keep going the wrong way with China, and markets don't like it because obviously when you bring up trade barriers, that's seen as bad for the economy. So yeah, guys, another risk to add to our radar, EU-US trade tensions. That is pretty much it from me for now, and I'll see you in the next one.